I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country right here on Fish Creek Radio. It's always a pleasure to have a guest artist make a return visit to our show, and especially one who is a member of the Bluegrass and the Country Music Hall of Fame. He's known as the Voice with a Heart, and it's my honor to welcome Mac Wiseman to My Kind of Country. Mac, how are you today?
I'm just fine, thank you, and I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and your listeners.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back. We had a great visit last time, and I'm so glad we have a chance to talk again.
Thank you.
Well, you've had a busy year. You've had a couple wonderful albums out there, songs from my mother's hand, which we of course talked about in the last interview that we did, and I'm anxious to talk about this new album with Merle Haggard called Timeless.
Well, it's in all the Cracker Barrel stores, and we're now working on a distribution thing. We have the arrangement with it. We can release on another label, which will be Haggard's or mine, for the rest of the world, because Cracker Barrels don't go west of the Rockies or in Canada or places like that, you know.
Oh, sure. Well, this one kind of snuck out there, but I'll tell you what, I've been featuring the songs on my show ever since it came out, and pound for pound, it is a fabulous album. I love the song selection, the production is great, and you and Merle both are in tip-top voice, and I'll bet you had a lot of fun doing this one.
We did indeed. It was just a pleasure, and both of us were compatible so far as to swap it off and singing on different songs and such as that. And Merle called me about it, and it took me about 30 seconds to say yes, of course. And I assumed he'd want to do primarily his songs, which I was not opposed to because he has so many great ones, but he insisted on doing about half of the CD of songs that I'd recorded before.
Well, I would certainly think so. They're great songs.
Well, I was pleased with the way they came off and the variety we had, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of my favorites on there is If Teardrops Were Pennies.
Yeah. That was an old Carl Smith hit, right?
That's a great song. And, of course, you guys did a great version of Jimmy Brown the Newsboy. I always love that song.
Well, that was one of the biggest records that I had, sales and chart-wise and such, back in 1959, I believe. Yeah, I know it was, yeah.
Wow. And then, of course, 'Tis Sweet to Be Remembered, too. That's another classic.
Yeah, well, that was my theme song for a long time. It was my very first record on Dot in 1951, so it's still one of the most popular records I have, and I'm very pleased with it, yes.
Well, Bear Family Records has some box sets out of your material, and I know that's the title of one of them, "'Tis Sweet to Be Remembered." And I understand that Dynasty Records is hoping to get a distribution on those and get those out to people here in the States.
Yes, indeed so. In fact, I just talked to Mr. Funk yesterday, and we're about ready to start shipping, so we've got the deal finalized. Yeah.
Well, that's great. For folks that aren't familiar with Bear Family Records, they're in Germany, and they have what I call the Cadillac of box sets that they put out on so many different artists. And they have complete collections of recorded works, and they always have just a beautiful hardcover book in there. And they've done several on Mac Wiseman music, and they're just absolute necessities. If you're a fan of music, they're the best things to have.
Well, I'm extremely pleased with it for several reasons. Primarily the fact that they made it still be available, my entire catalog, and we have so many young people, of course, coming on interested in the old-time music, and so many artists don't have that visibility or don't have that availability of their product from the older days, and so for those reasons, I'm very pleased to put them out.
Absolutely. And I know that Rural Rhythm Records has some of your CDs available, too.
Yeah, I did one for them back in the mid-'60s a double album, to be truthful about it. And it's still available in their catalog, I'm pleased to say.
Yeah, it's sings old time country hits. Mac Wiseman sings old time country hits, and there's looks like
Right, right.
21 songs on here, and you can get that at Rural Rhythm Records. They're in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, and they're at ruralrhythm.com, and that's available. And then, of course, there's some other great collections. They have a Rural Rhythm has a real nice best of collection. It's got 25 songs that they
Oh
put
yeah,
together too.
yeah.
And then
Uh, what was I going to tell you? Oh, the Bear Family box sets are available through the Ernest Tubb Record Shop. In case folks want to order those, one of them has 163 songs, the other 134, I believe.
yeah, it's got
Box sets, and they are excellent box sets.
they are. I have them, and the quality is fantastic. There's a lot of recordings that they found that had never been released that were included, and the book in itself is worth its weight in gold because it's got all these wonderful pictures. You know, it tells the stories about the songs, all the time when they were recorded, and
Right.
just top
It's
notch.
got a complete discography, and that's very important or noteworthy for today's audience.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Dynasty Records will have those available also, and we'll put that information up. And as you said, Ernest Tubb Record Stores, and you can go to bearfamily.com. They have a website, and
Right.
it'll cost you a little more in shipping. They're coming from Germany from them, so you might be better off to go for the Dynasty Records ones. You get them a little cheaper that way with the shipping and everything. But
Right.
definitely worth having, that's for sure. Well, Jeff Funk has been a friend of mine for many years, and I think the world of him. Dynasty Records is fantastic, and he's been just fantastic with me, and we work with a lot of his artists. And he tells me that there is a movie in the works based on the book that you wrote.
Yes, I'm very excited about that, and we've talked several times about that. We haven't signed any papers yet, but it's in the work and about to come a working thing, and so I'm really excited about that to be able to. Do you have the book?
I don't have the book yet, and Jeff said he is going to send one to me, so I'm anxious to read it. And it's called "All My Memories Fit for Print."
Right. And it started back the day I was born and brought right up through with the Merle Haggard sessions, which was just a few months ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and it tells all about my schooling and farm days and things of that nature, and nothing derogatory in it whatsoever. I had so many good memories, didn't have time for any bad ones.
Well, that's good. That's what we like to hear. Well, I've never talked to anybody that had a bad thing to say about Mac Wiseman, so I can't imagine
Well,
anything bad in there.
oh, that's very flattering. I'm pleased.
Well, it's really great to be able to hear your stories firsthand because you were there. You were there back in the days of Molly O'Day and Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs and.
Right, and I recorded with all those people, you see, before I had my own records out.
Yeah. I read something interesting, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about it. When you went to work with Bill Monroe, you didn't know his material. Is that right?
Well, that's right. I had worked a year with Flatt and Scruggs, but I had my own repertoire, so to speak, and Lester was writing a lot of new songs that so he wouldn't have to do the same ones he'd recorded with Monroe, of course. And another fella in the band would sing harmony on most of those, and it was one of my most embarrassing moments when I met Bill my first night down in Huntsville, Alabama. We were back in the dressing room tuning up and getting ready to go, and he turned to me and said, "Well, what are you and me going to do?" And I just felt the blood drain out of me because I didn't know any of these songs. But I thought of a few old ones that he and Clyde Moody have done, like Live and Let Live and things like that. And he never criticized me. He just realized I hadn't done my homework, but it didn't take me long to catch up.
I'll bet. That's great. Oh, my gosh. Well, I understand also that you have another honor coming your way for 2016, and they are going to induct you into the North America Country Music Association's International.
Yes, that is very exciting to me because it's quite an exclusive organization, and very few people in it, and all of them are very noteworthy. So to be in that kind of company, I'm quite excited.
Well, absolutely. And they've only inducted a few in the Legends category, and that's the category that you're in, and that's wonderful.
Right.
And it's also, there's only a handful of people that are in the Bluegrass Hall of Fame and the Country Music Hall of Fame, and you're certainly one of those.
Well, I'm the only living member of the original board of directors for the Country Music Association. I was the first secretary treasurer and was on that original board, and I'm the only living member of it left. I'm thrilled to death with the progress of that organization and what it's done to keep country music alive.
Absolutely, yeah. If it wouldn't have been for people like you, it wouldn't be what it is today, and that's wonderful. Did you ever think back in your early days, Mac, that looking forward that you would have had such a long and prosperous career?
Never, never, never. I went to college and majored in radio. I had done some live radio broadcasting, just like talent shows on weekends and things like that. But it wasn't the most reputable thing to do back in the early 40s because radio was in its infancy, so to speak, and they didn't pay any money to the talent. So the talent was a lot of nomads, so to speak. They would drift into town, and the radio station would give them airtime, and of course their exchange was that they provided the talent to do the airtime shows, and the artists had to go out to play schoolhouses and courtrooms and venues of that type to make a living. And radio stations, their part of it was that they sold the radio time that featured the artists singing and playing, and would sell that time to the tire companies and car companies and things of that nature. So it was a barter type thing, and though I enjoyed it very much, I didn't make any plans to follow that avenue of the entertainment business till after I majored in the course in radio and got to looking around, and the program directors and the managers were driving Fords and Chevrolets, and the artists were driving Cadillacs. So I thought, well, this needs a little looking into.
That's for sure. Well, that's pretty great. Well, tell me a little bit about. Are you still with me?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I lost you there. Tell me a little bit about looking, to this new album with Merle Haggard. I understand that Ronnie Reno did the production work on this.
Yes, he did. Ronnie's very talented. In fact, his dad, Don Reno, was in Monroe's band when I first joined it, and we lived out in the same area of town, and I remember Ronnie when he would just toddling around with a diaper on. But he has certainly been successful, and I enjoy his friendship very much.
Ronnie's a nice guy. I've had the pleasure of meeting him several times.
Oh, yes, he is. He's a wonderful fellow, very talented.
And he has a history with Merle Haggard, too. He worked on Merle's band for several years back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes, he did. He was with the Osbournes, and I was very flattered that he called me and asked my advice whether he should join Merle or not, which I right away told him, but I thought it was a huge step for him,
I'm glad he did. He really enhanced Merle's sound. His harmony singing and his songwriting. He wrote some wonderful songs that Merle recorded, and it was a pleasure to see him, performing with Merle. And like I said, I got to meet him a few times, and just super guy.
Yeah.
How long did it take you guys to record the album?
Oh, with Merle?
Yeah.
Oh, we did it in 3 or 4 sessions, 3-hour sessions. Yeah.
Wow.
We did it a couple of days. Yeah.
Boy, that didn't take long.
No, it didn't. Well, we both knew our material and was familiar with each other's material, and it was just one of those things that had the top of the line acoustical professional entertainers in Nashville. We didn't have any electric instruments on it, and it was a threatening package for the Grammys. Maybe we'll get there yet. I don't know.
Boy, it is Grammy-worthy material, folks. There are 13 songs on this album, and it's called Timeless. Merle Haggard and Mac Wiseman, and it is available at Cracker Barrel stores nationwide. And
Right.
you can go to crackerbarrel.com and pick it up there. And from what Mac tells me, it's they're in the works of getting a nationwide distribution on it, so you'll be able to get it in all.
Well, even worldwide, yes. We are working with some distributors in Germany and France and places like that.
That's good. We have a lot of listeners from overseas, so they're going to be real happy to hear about that.
Oh, yeah. Overseas in Canada, per capita is stronger than the States, and has been for 50-some years.
Well, Merle and Mac both have songs of their own on here, and they've got some of songs they did together and some songs they did solo. And Merle redid a version of an old Tommy Collins song called "High on a Hilltop," and Vince Gill sang the harmony on it. I thought that was just beautiful.
Oh, yes, and Vince sang on "Sweet to Be Remembered" as well.
Yeah, just beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, Merle did "Mama Tried" on there, and then you and him did "Sunny Side of Life," which is another favorite of mine.
Right. They were just a very compatible venture. We just sat down in the studio and did what came naturally. We'd rehearse or a lot of that, get our right keys, and the band would get their breaks and stuff like that, and
wow,
just flowed like wine.
So you guys didn't really plan out ahead of time who was going to sing what part and everything. You just kind of did it, huh?
Yeah, well, we picked the material before we went in, and we're familiar with what we was going to do, but we never had a rehearsal. We'd run them down to get the routine with the musical breaks and such as that, but just to get the right key and the musical part on them, you see.
Well, that's professional right there, folks, and that's people that have been in the business and know what they're doing. When you can walk in and do that and produce this kind of an album, that's top notch right there.
Well, it really is, but experience alone makes that possible, you know.
You bet.
Yeah.
Well, we're privileged to have two of your albums in our. We have a top list of albums that we put on our show every year that have been released during the year, and we feature them on our end of the year program. And you, of course, have songs from My Mother's Hand and Timeless that are in that list this year. So that's
You're right.
That's pretty cool.
Mother's Hand was a real pleasure for me. Long before I ever thought about being a part of this music business, my mother she played the shape notes and played the organ and piano in church, and she would, in the wintertime when we weren't out working crops and such as that, she would sit in front of the radio and be quilting or crocheting or whatever, and she had a notebook and a pencil on top of the radio, and most of the music was live back in those days. It wasn't disc jockey type stuff. And somebody'd sing a song on a Monday or so, and she'd get a verse and a chorus, and a few days later in the week, they'd sing the same song again. She'd get some more. And I have a treasure of those loose leaf notebooks. I have 13 of those in her handwriting, which is very legible. And
oh, wow.
It's a treasure to me.
Well, it sounds like you've got the makings for some more albums if you choose to do that, too.
Well, we really do. I have recorded in excess of 800 songs in my career.
Wow. And
I have 200 or more that I want to continue to do. Some of them have never been recorded before, but there's some of them are from overseas, Scotland and Ireland and places like that. People who moved over here, and some of them been altered a bit to make them possible for radio, and some of them had a little bit of naughtiness in them.
Well, we can get away with a little bit of that on internet radio. We're okay there.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad to hear that because, these songs, the fact that you're recording them and putting them out there, you're putting them out there for a whole new generation of people, and they get to listen and in many cases hear these songs for the first time. And folks that remember them, they're hearing them again and they're fresh again. And I think that's wonderful that you are continuing that tradition and keeping those songs alive.
Well, I've used that method of recording for quite a few years. I have a label of my own, record label of my own, that I have 13, 14 CDs and DVDs on, and I've tried to pattern those records as a preservation type thing,
Absolutely, and I think that's great. It really, this music needs to be preserved, needs to be heard, and more people are discovering it with the the invention of the internet. They can go find this music, and there's a whole new way to get it out to the people, and that's great. And this stuff is available on Amazon and iTunes. I was looking at some of the catalog on there, and the
right
Old Liquor in a New Jug, that's available on there. I love that CD. I like the title. I bought it just for the title,
Yeah. Well, it kind of says tongue in cheek, but it's true. It's old song done in a modern way,
Yep, I love that.
Liquor in a new jug, yeah.
Well, we've been very blessed. Our sponsor, Bradley Brothers Records, Mr. Don Bradley, I'm sure you know him, has given us a whole stack of Mac Wiseman CDs, and we have been giving them away on our show, and we're going to give away some here on the show tonight, so everybody needs to stay tuned. We've got one of your Bluegrass 1971 albums, we've got 25 classics, and we've got Sing's Old Time Country Favorites. So,
well, wonderful.
We're going to keep giving those away, and I want to encourage everybody to go to Cracker Barrel and pick up Timeless. It is hands down the best album I've heard this year.
Thank you.
I really, the songs on it are great. The production's great, as I said. And, of course, I'm one of the biggest Merle Haggard fans that there is out there. And I had a chance to talk to Merle a couple months ago. He was on the show, and he was just delighted with the results of this album.
Oh, yeah. We both enjoyed it very much. It was labor of love.
Absolutely. And I want to tell you pass along a hello to you from Mr. Freddie Hart. I understand you and he are good friends.
Oh, we are indeed. And for the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, he came in from California and came out and spent an entire afternoon with me. We just talked about old things and sang songs and together. And I knew Freddie when he first was discovered by Lefty Frizzell back in the early 50s, and I've known him all through the years and worked a lot of shows with him.
He is great people. I'm hoping that they get him in the Country Music Hall of Fame, too. He deserves to be there, too.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. He's still writing. He sang some songs for me that he had just written, and they're fabulous. He's a very prolific songwriter.
Oh, he certainly is, and he still sings wonderfully. And I have been real privileged to become friends with him and Don Bradley, and we stay in touch. And it's just been, beyond my wildest dreams to be talking to Freddie Hart and be friends with him. And he speaks very highly of you, so he wanted me to be sure to tell you that he said hi.
Well, you give him my best too, if you will. We keep in touch, and he's expressed several times he wished he lived in Nashville so we could visit each other more frequently,
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, folks, Timeless is the album. It's available at Cracker Barrel. Gosh, I keep getting that mixed up. Cracker Barrel. I don't know why I can't say barrel today. Cracker Barrel stores nationwide. Go get some breakfast and pick up a Timeless CD, Merle Haggard and Mac Wiseman. And look for the Bear Family box sets available at the Ernest Tubb Record stores, and very shortly they will be available from Dynasty Records at dynastyrecords.com, Mr. Jeff Funk.
Yep.
And Songs from My Mother's Hand available at Amazon, iTunes, also the Ernest Tubb Record stores, and just about anywhere music is sold you can find that. And Mac Wiseman, it has been an honor and a privilege to have you on the show again, and I want to thank you for taking the time.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I have the books in my biography in stock, so folks can order them from me or through Amazon or wherever they want, you know.
All right, we'll put that information on our Facebook page, and I highly encourage that. And it's just wonderful to see this catalog of music that's available for you, and it's also great to see new music coming out from you, Mac. I'm just so glad.
Thank you. I really appreciate your courtesy and the opportunity to talk to you and your listeners, and support I appreciate all of the support you've given me through the years.
Well, I think I speak for everybody when I say that we appreciate all the wonderful music and memories you've given us over the years.
Well, thank you, sir.
And congratulations again on your induction into the upcoming induction into the North American Country Music Association's International Hall of Fame. I think that's fantastic. Very proud of that.
Yes, it is. I'm very excited about that.
You bet. Well, Mac, we're going to play a song off of Timeless right now, and I'm going to let you play the DJ and pick the next song we're going to play. How would that be?
All right. I'd like to do that, Bringing Mary Home.
All right. We're going to play it. This is from the Timeless album with Merle Haggard and Mac Wiseman. Here is Mr. Mac Wiseman himself as we continue with My Kind of Country right here on Fish Creek Radio. Thank you again, Mac.
My pleasure. Thank you.